Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Agent Power Huddle, and specifically, welcome to Scripting Fridays. My name's Ed Laine. I'm a broker here in Seattle. You can tell by the Space Needle, and I've been doing this a really long time, and I like to know what to say in every environment to get the outcome I'm looking for. So I practice scripting all the time, and that's what Fridays at 8 a.m. are all about, so that I can share a lot of those scripts. Today, we're going to talk about how to get buyers off the couch at this time of year. So let me share my screen and we'll dive in. So, like I said, I've been doing this a long time. I actually started in 1987 and I've sold over 3,000 homes. I've also closed over 5,000 mortgages. So I was a lender for 30 years. So I just have a ton of experience, and hopefully I can share some of that experience with you guys. And today, as the image shows, we're going to talk about how to get buyers off the couch. December is comfy time, right? A lot of buyers take a break during the holidays. And quite candidly, that's a mistake. I've put 2 houses in escrow in the last 48 hours. That's because people that are in the market right now are serious about getting stuff done, right? So when you're talking to your buyers, if they're not sure if now is the right time, you want to know exactly what to say to help them visualize that it probably is. And I'm going to give you some of the reasons why. Does that sound good? All right. So let's dive in, shall we? When you're working with buyers at this time of year, you want to make sure you're addressing 5 things in that conversation. And those 5 things are: you want to build urgency and demonstrate value. If they act quicker than they're anticipating, it will actually pay them money. They'll get better terms. They have less competition. They'll be able to buy a house while other people are sitting on the couch, right? You want to also address any objections they have. They might tell you they're too busy or they're traveling or whatever, right? Be prepared to address those. You want to also have a unique buyer offer, something to motivate them, something to help them see that, oh, maybe this is something we should do or something we should at least consider, right? There's never any pressure. We can't change people's timelines, but we can educate them and we can show them why now could be better for their financial well-being than waiting, right? Think about it. How many homes hit the market in the first quarter? A ton. I've got 5 listings right now, all wired to go live on January 22nd. And we can come back to that when we're done talking about buyers. But that's when the stuff starts to flow, right? Well, you got competition, baby, right? You have the potential for bidding wars. You have, at the very least, uh, a more difficult time scheduling showings because other buyers are getting off the couch as well after the new year, right? Now, back to the 5 things, you also want a clear call to action. Buyers need clarity. They want to know what the steps are and specifically what their next step is. So make sure that you have the posture of a teacher. Educate. When you educate people, it's more well received, right? They don't feel like you're trying to persuade. They feel like you're trying to teach. So make sure you have clarity for them, right? And then you always want to close with value. Make sure that they understand, if they take these steps, that there's benefit in it for them. Pretty simple, right? So let's roll through what it could sound like, right? You've got buyers in your pipeline, buyers that have said, we're going to wait, or we're going to do this after New Year's, or we're gonna, right? Give them a call. It never hurts to connect, right? Hey, buyer, it's Ed Laine with eXp Realty. How are you doing? And then wait for them to engage, right? They may say, oh, now's not a good time. That's okay. When is a good time? I'll call you back. Or use the 2 option close. No problem. Can I call you tomorrow at 2? Or would 4 be better? But once they engage, you can say, I wanted to share something timely. We're in what most people think is a slow season for real estate, but honestly, that's one of the biggest myths in the business. Think about that for a sec, right? If you've been to this scripting Zoom meeting before, you heard me say multiple times when I'm talking to sellers that December is my 3rd highest volume month of the year. Think about that for a sec, right? And analyze your stats over your entire career, split up transactions by month and see where December and November fall in your list of most productive months. It won't be at the bottom, but everyone assumes it's last, right? The reason it won't be, and I don't even know how long you've been in the biz or who you are, but December gets more active because people involved in the market at that time of year are more serious. They often have financial deadlines, tax implications, all kinds of motivations to get bleep done before the end of the year. Right? Tell you a quick aside because it can work the other way. I had a client, I listed their home and put it in escrow, and then I helped them buy a home all within the same month, November. This is 2 years ago. They asked if we could structure the close dates after New Year's. And I was already capped. So I'm already in our firm, we're at 100% once we cap. So I was like disappointed, right? But I closed both of them in the first week of January last year, and I was capped again. So I only went uncapped for 7 days. Right. So that's not a bad thing. It also helped me hit icon, which I won't bore you with what that means, but that's a boatload of money. But that's the beauty of this time of year is there's pressures one way or the other for people. And in most cases, it's pressure forward, meaning sooner. They want to get into the house for the holidays. Think of that. How many buyers do you know that would love to celebrate Christmas or New Year's in their new home? Happens a lot, right? Once they get into the car and start looking, they start anticipating, right? So that's why that's one of the biggest myths. Excuse me. Now, how do you build urgency and value? That sounds like this. In fact, the buyers who take action in November and December often get the best terms. Why? There's less competition. Sellers are more motivated, and interest rates are often seasonably favorable. That's a triple win if you're positioned right. We have attractive rates right now, right? They've been trending downward. Here we are. They closed last week at 6.17. That's phenomenal. When you consider we've been at 8 for most of the last 3 years, right? That's why, ask yourself this. How has traffic on your listings been in the last 3 weeks? Because I'll tell you, my listings are getting showings like crazy, and 3 of them have gone into escrow. I think it's not because the Fed did their last price adjustment, but it is because when they did their adjustment and rates actually went up because Jerome Powell opened his big fat mouth, I think buyers said, well, I'm tired of waiting. I'm going to start looking. So that's happening here in Seattle. Check your market wherever you're at. We're seeing key box openings go up. That's what starts transactions, right? Ready to overcome objections. I touched on that at the beginning, right? Some people think waiting until spring is smarter, but the data says otherwise. Homes are still being listed, and those who shop now avoid the bidding wars and rushed timelines. Look at transaction volume in your MLS a month, and you're going to see in the spring inventory rises, right? That brings in the competition. So studies show that people get better deals. But I started this call with saying I put 2 deals in escrow in the last 48 hours. Both of them had sizable concessions, like 20 grand for one and 29 grand for the other. And my sellers approved them and said yes, right? Sellers are motivated. You can get great deals for your clients. Make the unique buyer offer, right? And here's the kicker. We have a list of buyers in waiting and matching program that gives our clients early or exclusive access to properties, including some that aren't even on the MLS yet. If you're on my team here in Seattle or in my organization anywhere in the country, we talk and we lead with off-market access to homes. When I sit down with a buyer, I say, the best part about our VIP service is I can give you priority access to off-market properties before they hit the MLS or the internet. Does that make sense? Or does that sound like it would help you find a good deal? They never say no to that, right? Because they realize, yeah, absolutely. How do I get that? Right? Think about this from the perspective of the buyer. That's a huge differentiator because every agent they talk to, they think has the same access, but they don't. We have a complete off-market system. We sell almost 100 homes a year that never go on the MLS. That's all the evidence that buyer needs to hear to know that I'm the right guy, that they want to work with me, right? Think of it like this. If you're fishing in a pond, the MLS being the pond, so are every other broker, right? But what if you had access to the ocean and those brokers didn't? Would that be a benefit? Every buyer I talk to says, absolutely, sign me up. And that's really important now because NAR settlement, right? Most states, at least most MLSs, have implemented some sort of buyer brokerage agreement. So you have to work with that and sign that. In fact, I'll give a quick little plug. On the Agent Collective website, there is a group of videos from people like me. I'm one of 5, I think, that went through our buyer presentations. Watch those. Take from each one what you like, chuck what you don't like, and then create your own or copy them verbatim. Because like in the case of mine, I've had 100% success rate in signing buyer broker agreements since 2007. Long before the NAR settlement, I've been using those. So you should too. It should be a skill, right? Anyway, back to what we're doing to get buyers off the couch right now. Then you give them a call to action. What you've said till now has motivated somebody to at least consider getting in the car and looking at houses in December, right? So now you want to frame it so that they see that it's not this huge burden, it's not this giant undertaking. It's actually pretty easy, and you're going to make it easy for them, right? If the right home showed up tomorrow, would you be ready to act? Because now's the time to quietly position yourself while everyone else is distracted. We'll handle the prep, walk you through financing if needed, and make sure you're ready to strike when the opportunity comes, right? It's all about just being in position. Another way to say that is it's never too soon when you're starting a journey, right? It's never too soon to figure out where you are in relation to where you're trying to go on the map, right? Well, where you are starts with your lender, starts with your loan officer. Get your clients pre-approved. That's step one. That's establishing where they are. And we know where they're trying to go is to buy a house, right? The other benefit of that, and this is all year round, is you want to get them pre-approved first in case they don't qualify for what they want. Most people will qualify for something, but it might not be the neighborhood they want to be in, right? It could be a condo and they're really hoping to have a yard and a house or whatever. But if they see where they're at on the map to begin with, then they know how to work towards that goal. Maybe they need more down payment. Maybe they need whatever, right? Sorry, my phone is ringing over here. All right. And then close with value. Hey, let's just do a quick 15-minute planning call this week. No pressure, just smart strategy. Sound good? Pretty simple close, right? And it's only 15 minutes. If they go, oh gosh, that's a long time, we can do it in 10. Sense? All right, let me see something in the chat. Oh, thank you, Autumn, for posting that. So Autumn put the buyer broker or buyer presentation link in the chat. So everyone should grab that. Here's a bonus tip. Always remember that the holidays are when serious buyers make serious moves. Don't wait for the crowd, lead it, right? That's the content for today. So as you guys know, I always leave a little bit of time at the end so that if you have a scenario that you want to hear what I would say in that given scenario, we can kick that around. Also, as you see at the bottom of the screen, whatwouldEdsay.com is a custom GPT. So if you have a Chat GPT account, it can even be the free one. You can get access to a custom GPT that I created. And all I do is load into the knowledge base for it all of these scripts. So you can go to it and say, I got a seller that's trying to make me discount. What would Ed say? And it'll go, whoop, here are the objection handlers for discounts. So play around with that. Let me know what you think. All right, I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to look at you guys and see, does anyone have a scenario that you're finding challenging right now?
Hey Ed, just
I,
a couple of buyers that kind of got on the fence and just kind of ghost. They don't answer their phone. And so what would you, I mean, is there anything to do or just keep calling?
that's a great one, Galen, and it's nice to see you. Thanks for turning your camera on. I do escalating messages, and I don't mean I get angry. I just mean the frequency will increase and it'll culminate in a message that says, hey, Galen, this is Ed Laine again. I don't know if you can tell, but I'm really good at follow-up, and I'm just going to keep calling until you tell me to stop. So you had initiated this relationship by being interested in a home. I just want to help you achieve that. And then I'll usually get a return call to that. Text messages also are very effective. If I just text the word Galen, question mark. If I'm not saved in your phone, you'll be like, who's this? Well, now I know your phone's in your hand, right? So when people ghost, I I want to end with this on my answer, which is people have lives, right? People have things going on in their lives. And we don't always know everything they're dealing with or facing. So you want to be patient, you want to be empathic and be helpful. If if the escalating approach doesn't work, then I drop them into a monthly check-in because it may be something significant. I mean, I've had births, cancer, all kinds of stuff derail plans to buy a home. So you don't want to assume they're just being rude, right?
Perfect.
Does that help?
Oh yeah, for sure.
And tease some of the stuff we covered today. Hey, I'm
Yeah.
just reaching out because there's a myth in our industry that this is a bad time. It's not. The people that I'm helping right now are getting the best deals. You can even say I was on a call yesterday where uh, an agent said he had two buyers that got between 20 and 30 grand in concessions from sellers because sellers are also motivated at this time of year,
Hey
right?
Ed, I got a 37,000. Well, I got a buyer into a home and they have $37,000 worth of equity because they bought it this time.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
I'm glad you said that, Galen, because that reminded me of another agent on my team just got his appraisal, and the appraiser told the seller, "You are an idiot for accepting this offer. Your house is worth so much more." Well, that's instant equity for our client, right?
He told the seller that?
Yeah. Have you ever even heard of that? An
No.
appraiser, like
No.
appraisers are supposed
To
to
shut
shut
up.
up. So
Uh, I didn't have
it's,
any question it would appraise. I just, it didn't appraise at the list price just because the market's wonky here in Vegas, but you know, it was only like uh, 18,000. Well, it's 18,000 below the list price is what it appraised for. So
and you got it for almost 50,000 below the price.
yeah, that's good. I'm super
No,
excited for them, and I'm selling their house in January. They don't have to sell right away. They want to do some renovations.
like it. We
Yeah.
can talk about that just for a minute because I mentioned I have 5 listings coming on January 22nd. Here's the dialogue I use at this time of year with sellers who want to wait, like Galen's, right? You know, I'll back up one sec. Before you know if they want to wait, when they say, "Is this a good time to sell?" you don't really want to answer because if you say no and they need to sell, they're going to assume you're not the right person. He must not be very good at selling in December or whatever, right? So what I say when they say, "Is this a good time to sell?" I say it can be. Do you need to sell now or could you wait until after New Year's? We don't care. If that's the answer, I say, well, then I would wait until after New Year's because in an appreciating market, a home that sells in December is going to sell for less than the home that sells in January, right? But then I say, we target the third Thursday of January every year. Not this coming January though, because the third Thursday is the 15th, and that's still too early. But in a normal year, we list homes on the third Thursday in January because our system works best if launched on a Thursday throughout the year. And we want to have buyers who wake up on New Year's Day thinking this is going to be the year we buy a house, to have time to get pre-approved and start looking. And then when we list on the 22nd, in this case, we're on the leading edge of that wave of inventory that's coming to the market. So you can use that explanation for a seller who's not yet on the market. I've got a couple of those 5 are people that were already on the market and it didn't sell. So we're taking it off the market actually today, and we're going to relist on the 22nd. And that in our MLS if you're off the market for 60 days, the days on market number resets to 0. So there's a benefit to get off the market today and go back on the market on January 22nd. Does that make sense to everybody? I
That's
know.
cool. Yeah. I think ours is the same way. I've never had to pull a listing off yet, but
Yeah.
I don't do hundreds of homes or anything every year.
Well, it's an unusual year, and the one of them is a $3.5 million house. And when we listed it later in the year than we really would have wanted to. We went on the market after Labor Day. But I told him, I said, there's a uptick in transaction volume the 2 weeks after Labor Day. So we can try and capitalize on that. And then if it doesn't work, we'll take it off the market in November and relist in January. And they're like, great, right? Remember, all of you, remember what I said earlier today, have clarity and explain the steps. That gives your client clarity. And this is true for buyers or sellers, right? But that was a clear and concise plan based on experience and facts that they embraced wholeheartedly. Would I have preferred it sell? Of course, right? But if it doesn't, that also gives us an opportunity to address the price. I told them we'll do an updated CMA in January before we go live, so that if we need to adjust the price, we can do that. Does that make sense? All right, well, we are near the bottom of the hour. So don't forget whatwouldEdSay.com and give me feedback. Let me know if it gave you results that you used and if they worked and all that. All right. Other than that, I hope you guys have an awesome weekend, and let's go out and sell some houses.
If you'd like more information or to get connected to the Agent Power Huddle, join our free Facebook group. This call was designed for the agents in our EXP organization, but open to any agent from any brokerage. If you're a guest and you're interested in learning more about EXP or our specific resources within the Agent Collective, reach out to the person who invited you to this call to get more info. Produced by the Agent Collective Media Network.